Hey, everybody. Welcome to the next session. We'll give just a couple seconds for everybody to jump in. All righty. All right. Well, let's just jump into it. So I am super excited to welcome Marily Nika from Google. And with that, I will let her give her own introduction and just pass it right on over.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marily Nika. I am based in San Francisco, and I am an AI product leader working for Google. Today, I'm very, very excited to be talking to you about inclusive product management. Product management is something I have so close to my heart. I have been working in product for over 8 years in multiple Bay Area companies. And I do find this challenge that a lot of people don't build inclusive products. So today, hopefully, I will be able to transfer this passion to you, and you will understand how to build products for everyone. So with that said, I have actually prepared a presentation for you. Let me just share my screen super quickly. Okay, let's start off. So why does inclusivity matter in product management, and what is it that you can do about it? This is a presentation as part of PLG Disrupt, and as I said, I'm just so excited to be advocating for this subject. It's a subject that everyone has in the back of their head, whereas it should be at the front of everything you're building. This is as part of the Women in Tech track, which is another topic that's very close to my heart, as I advocate on every chance I get for getting more women to join technology. First off, I just wanted to share a couple of things about me. As I mentioned, my name is Marily Nika. I'm based in San Francisco. At the same time as my day job, I teach product management at Harvard Business School. In the past, I had the honor of being named the Woman of the Year in Tech in 2018 by Every Woman, which is an organization in London. That's because, as I said, I advocate for women in tech. I support this community. I want to get more women to join technology. I receive messages on LinkedIn with young women telling me that they don't think they're good enough to join tech, even though their resumes are fantastic. So I advocate for being more diverse, more inclusive, and for getting over and getting rid of the imposter syndrome. If you want to learn more about all this or about the courses I have, please say hello. I am on Instagram. You can find my handle here on the slide. All right, let's jump into this presentation. What are inclusive products? Here's a definition I found from the British Standards Institute. And it says that the design of mainstream products and or services that are accessible, usable by as many people as reasonably possible without the need for special adaptation or specialized design. Okay, let's take a step back. What does that even mean? This means that if you're a product manager and you design products, you need to make sure to maximize the amount of people that can and that want to use these products. This doesn't just mean to make colors that are appealing for people from all ethnicities or like backgrounds or gender identities. It means that it should not exclude anyone. And I've seen some products in the past that have like a different button saying, hey, if you want to switch the color scheme, click here or something like this. But this is not what inclusive products means. What I want you to do as product managers is you need to solve for the user, but not for the product. This means that before you start doing anything, when you strategize, when you have this product area that you know you'll dive into, solve for the user. So take a step back and create the user persona. Who are you building for? What is your user segment? What are their characteristics, their fears, their pain points, their wants, their needs? What products do they use that are similar to what it is that you want to build? And how are you going to include as many people as possible from that user segment? Some people may say, I mean, we don't need to include everyone in that user segment, but no, you do. Because if your product succeeds, you will want to expand it to more people. And if it's not inclusive from day one, how are you supposed to have an impact in this field? The other thing I want to mention is that not all disability is visible, right? So sometimes we build products and a lot of our users may or may not be disabled. And disability may or may not be visible. And it's the right of everyone. You can't ask them, you can't assume, you can't hypothesize. but you need to make sure to solve for disability. You need to make sure your products have a text-to-speech for people that cannot see well. You need to make sure that the fonts and so on are clear. You need to partner with UX leads that have this understanding and that can actually help you build inclusive products for people with disabilities. But outside of that, you do need to have this mindset where you test and learn. Before you launch a new UX or a new functionality or anything in relation to your product, you need to keep testing and learning. You need to keep running tests and A/B tests and just see if your new launch resonates with the user segment you have targeted. That's why I say that on day one, you need to make sure to have defined your user segment properly. And there is this profession, I'm sure you may have heard of it before, it's UXR, so UX research. Product managers and UXR goes hand by hand. So you need to do the research. You need to understand who the user is. You need to get these users from the user segment in the room and show them what you're building and make sure they're on board with it. Last but not least, there is something which I advocate for so much. It is this shiny object trap. And what I tell product managers is that, hey, you should not fall into this trap. So what is the shiny object trap? Shiny object trap means I have this very fancy new technology like AR or VR, or I have a great AI algorithm that I want to leverage for my product and build this super fancy feature that can recognize plants if you take a photo and just tell me what kind of plant it is or something along these lines. But when we think like that, we fall into this shiny object trap. You need to instead say, okay, who am I building for? I'm building for high school students. And these high school students don't know anything about plants. And we want to help them learn more about plants. What is it that we can do? We can build an app that leverages AI and deep learning that you can just turn on the camera, take a photo of the plant, and see what kind of plant it is. So this is the kind of mindset you should have in order to be set for success moving forward. Don't fall into the shiny object trap. Build for everyone. Make sure your products are inclusive for people with disabilities and solve for the user, not for the product. If you start off your product development process with this mindset, you will be set for success. All right. Now that we understand what inclusive products are, the question is, why is it the PM's job? Why isn't it the UX leader's job? Why isn't it the engineer's job? It's because as a product manager, you're the one that decides the priorities. This is why I have a little captain hat there. So you're the captain. You can say, hey, we're not ready to launch. This is not inclusive enough. You can make a difference at every stage of product development. And you advocate and represent the user within a company. Essentially, you represent the voice. You are the one that will build for them. So if you don't advocate for diversity and inclusivity, who is going to do it? So this is why it's a product manager's job. And I completely agree with this. And you should not be afraid to just pull the plug and say, hey, this is not good enough. This does not meet the standards. If there are no standards for inclusivity or diversity in product development within your company, why not create it? This would be a fantastic, fantastic opportunity to have an impact within your organization. And with that, you can create a consistent framework for all product managers. So why do inclusive products make a difference? And the answer is because if they're not inclusive, then they are going to be set for failure. Non-inclusive products will not reach their potential, and they can face low shoots, PR damage, and you're not going to have impact. I don't know if you've seen this photo. I think it's a meme. I don't know if it's real or not, but this is the kind of PR disaster you may have if you don't build for everyone. Building for everyone means having a diverse team as well. If you don't have diverse product managers and engineers and researchers and UX designers, how are you supposed to build for diverse people? So if this is the sort of image your organization has right now, then I think you're likely not going to be set for success. Machine learning, I don't know if you work on machine learning. I have a PhD in machine learning, and I spent quite a lot of time solving these sort of problems. But machine learning can have unfortunate consequences. And you see here on the bottom left photo, machine learning algorithms can confuse and mix up whether this is a labradoodle or fried chicken. And then on the right, the machine learning algorithms can actually mix up chihuahua muffins. But aside of why this is funny, if you take machine learning and you apply it to a product, then you can get some pretty bad disasters, whether it's PR, whether it's lawsuits, whether it's just products that are not impactful. So you need to make sure before you launch something to just run a due diligence or a QA and just make sure it doesn't cause people to feel excluded. And it's very common with machine learning and AI. And that's just because of the nature of AI and machine learning, which is that you just need a lot of data to train your algorithms with. And the data on itself needs to be diverse enough. So as a product manager, you need to make sure to set a quality bar and say, here is the minimum quality bar we will accept. You can work with your software engineers and your research scientists to set the tech side of things of what this bar means. But from a product perspective, there are just some things that you cannot accept. And these go right back to diversity and inclusivity. So I don't know if you've read about this before, but most of people who have been designing the phones have been men historically. So they have been designing for the male hand size. And like we have our phones, right? You can now click here and it's fine. But in the past, I think when the first phones came out, they were just huge and some women could not use them. That's because, again, you had people that were not building products having in mind the diverse user base that they would have. So it all comes down to this: non-inclusive products with inclusive marketing backfire. A lot of times I see products that people have developed that are not inclusive, but the marketing that they use is very, very inclusive. So a lot of people go there and they buy these products, but then when they actually start using them, they realize that inclusivity is actually not there. So don't try to find the shortcuts. Make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure you have your quality bars. Make sure you meet them. Make sure you practice your authority to pull the plug if something is not good enough when it comes to inclusivity and diversity. And don't just rely on good marketing because it will backfire. And there are many, many ads and campaigns that have backfired in the past. I may mention some if we have time in the end. Right, so how can we do it as product managers? How can we ensure that the team is actually going to be building inclusive products on their own without us being there day to day saying, hey, this is not inclusive, this is not good enough? So how do you inspire this culture of inclusivity? Number one, hire diverse talent. Hire people from all sorts of lives. Hire people that may not have experience but show great potential. Hire from different countries, different areas, different schools. Don't hire the same people from the same school, from the same background. Just give it a chance. Change your platform to make decisions that counteract bias. So if you detect bias, then again, you need to take a step back and then make the tough choice of pulling the plug. Last but not least, numbers never lie. And you can work with your UXR partner there, but if you talk numbers and demographics, you can understand the needs and the desires of the users. And then you can see an example. This is a graph that I found online that is visualizing America's population by race. And you can understand the demographics of the users you're building for. So why not talk numbers? Why not first visualize your user segments before you move forward with building inclusive products? You need to also be inviting to people of diverse backgrounds. And I've seen these fantastic campaigns. I think the first one at the top with the colors, I think this was by Apple when they were first advertising the iPod. So essentially, you can see it's very colorful. Anyone can identify themselves with any of the four pictures. It's just so welcoming, very inviting. At the bottom, you see, again, I can identify myself definitely with using whatever product this is. At the bottom right, again, this is just so inclusive and fun, and it represents all cultures and people from all over the world, really. So as a product manager, you need to be inviting to people of diverse backgrounds that you want to use your product. So identify who your users are and be very inviting to them. Empathize. I cannot stress this word enough. This is why I have it in capital. I don't know if you know this story, but this image on the right that you see is an MRI scanner. And there's this person, his name is Doug Dietz. He gave a very, very popular TED Talk. But essentially, he went to the hospital and he realized that there was an MRI scanner for children. And he realized that kids were very, very afraid to get in there and take a scan, as they should be. Of course, I would also be very, very, very afraid of this sort of thing. So he said, there must be a way to solve this. How can we make this more inclusive? How can we make kids want to go in there? Which sounds crazy, like science fiction. But he spends months and hours talking to medical professionals and doctors, and then designers and user experience folks. And he said, you know what? We are going to convert this very scary looking thing into a fun experience. So he empathized with the kids and he created these scenarios and stories. And you can see, like on the bottom left, he created this rocket ship experience. Or at the bottom, you can see the submarine experience. And on the right, you can see, I think it's kind of like a jungle type of theme. And then the data don't lie. So I think he was able to prove that from 90% of the times, kids would need to get some sort of sedative or like get drugged in order to be able to proceed with the MRI scan. After launching this, I think it was only 5% or something of the kids requiring to get some drug. And with that, he solved this problem. He empathized for the users being the kids. And not only that, the kids wanted to go back on again and again. So as a product manager, we need to empathize. We need to ensure our team is building inclusive products. We need to sprinkle this culture in and just ask them throughout the entire product development process to think about inclusivity, have values that they need to comply with and that they need to respect. So what is it that you can do about it? How do you ensure that your team is building inclusive products? Well, number one, you can fight bias. You can always ask yourself and ask your team, who are we not including in this space? What biases or assumptions might I be bringing into this process? Because that's the other thing. We have our own biases. We bring our own personalities there. We may have things in our head that we don't realize. And that's what a bias is. This is why you need a lot of people to check things before they launch. Maybe you can employ inclusive innovation ambassadors. And maybe the innovation ambassadors can be part of a launch process where before anything goes out in the public, they need to just make sure that the inclusivity check is there. Maybe we need to teach the team to not conflate diversity with inclusion, because that's a very common issue and concern that I have came across. As a product manager, you need to identify bias traps and embed bias busting strategies at key points of design. So bias traps, obviously within 20 minutes, I cannot walk you through what they are, but maybe you can always have it in the back of your head and just try to understand when the dangerous moments come in where you can actually accidentally employ and include bias. Last but not least, it's time for innovative change. And innovative change starts with you, because you are the product manager and you need to make sure that you're building diverse products, including people, not excluding anyone. And you need to make sure that your team is diverse enough. With that said, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you all so much. Please reach out. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. It's Marily Nika. Happy to answer any questions. Happy to talk to you about product management, converting to product management, anything like that. Thank you so much. And now you can proceed to the Q&A stage.
Hey, everybody. Awesome, Marily. Thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, feel free to toss them into the chat over there. And then I will, if we have some, I will bring Marily back on stage and we can go through some of those questions. But of course, inclusivity, such an important topic. And honestly, a really great presentation. I loved all the various examples in there. So if nothing else, thanks so much for jumping in. Thank you, Marily, for the presentation. And this is awesome. But yeah, and if you guys have questions, feel free to toss those in the chat over there and we'll get to them. So in the meantime, I'm just going to sit back and relax until we see a few more questions come in. Hey, Marily, let's bring you up on stage with us. Hello.
Hello. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. So one question that we have here is, when your process for thinking about inclusivity, like how do you go about that process? And for people who are just getting started with this at their company, like what would you recommend to sort of kick off that process?
I recommend opening it up to the team, opening this question up to the users you're solving for. So inclusivity does not mean one person decides. Inclusivity means one person opens the dialogue, one person facilitates this process. So I always take a step back and I put in a room kind of the leads of the product or the stakeholders I have. And I ask each and every one, and I say, look, is this inclusive for the world you're working in? Is this inclusive for you personally? And I encourage people to speak up, because one of the issues we faced is that people are just not going to open up and share the fact that, you know, something in a product may make them feel uncomfortable in any way or anything like this. And also there's this personal responsibility as a PM. You kind of need to take a step back and do some research and see who your users are. And I'm not just talking about demographics and culture and so on. I'm talking about perspectives. I'm talking about concerns, challenges, things that people may be facing that is not obvious on the first glance. And you kind of try to make sure you're tackling all of these things when you're bringing a product out to the world. So all that, everything I mentioned, is characterized in one word by empathy. So if people are empathetic, they'll be able to identify the things needed to make product management more inclusive.
Yeah. Empathy is, I mean, that's the key word, right? So important to try to be empathetic, think about how others might feel, react, respond in a different scenario. So I really like you adding that word in there. One other question that we have here is around getting executive buy-in. So how do you get executive buy-in for an initiative around inclusivity?
Usually for bigger companies, it would be such a disaster or a mistake if there isn't already a huge understanding and need for inclusivity. So for bigger companies, I've seen product reviews where a product manager will bring a ready-to-go product to a steering review. And one of the checkpoints and check marks, if you will, during this review is, hey, is this product inclusive? Is this product accessibility friendly, and so on? So if you're not working for a big company, or if your big company does not have this checkpoint, this check, I encourage you to literally just put a proposal together and share it with your leaders and just say, look, we need to be inclusive on everything we create. This needs to be part of a process. There is zero tolerance here. And if any leader turns to you and says, look, this is not important enough, like this is a startup, we don't care, then this is such a red flag for the company. I would even consider leaving that company because it's just not in line with ethics.
Yeah. I was going to say run like the wind.
Exactly. Yeah.
I totally agree with you there. Very cool. I'm going to just give one open-ended question here on just anything that you sort of want to share. I mean, I know you had your presentation, of course, too, but is there anything that you've been thinking about, presently in the last couple of days, or a trend that you're seeing that makes you sort of feel good about the future of inclusivity?
I see more and more conferences that are based on inclusivity. The University of Washington actually is running a couple of workshops and conferences for inclusivity and product management specifically. I'm very optimistic because we are working hard in raising awareness. I'm very optimistic because there is a dialogue. I'm very optimistic because more and more companies are hiring and creating organizations for diversity and inclusivity, which is super, super great. Whereas I think 5 years back, this was just not happening. It was just not a concept. It was just not, I mean, obviously it was a need, but people were not addressing it. So I feel good because I just see all these new job openings. I see all these conferences. I see there is a buzz around it. But with that said, we still have a lot of work to do. And if you see any products which are like the example I had in my presentation, which is the phone that is made for male hands, please call it out to your company. Please call it out to your PM leadership, because this is not right.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to end it. We all have a role in solving this. So awesome. Thank you so much, Marily. Amazing presentation. Really appreciate you coming and speaking with us. And we look forward to hearing more from you in the future.
Thank you so much. And if anyone wants to reach out, please feel free, connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I always want to help PMs learn more about inclusivity and how they can improve their skills and grow and build amazing products.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.